Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're focusing right in going back to Jane Goodall's early days at Gombe Stream. We're sticking purely to her book, In the Shadow of Man.
Exactly. And the mission for you listening is really to grasp how her work, her observations on the ground, just fundamentally shifted how science defined what it means to be human.
Yeah, it wasn't just, oh, look, they're similar. It was specific moments that forced a rethink.
Right. We're digging into why those similarities were so earth-shattering at the time.
Okay, but before we get to, the big discoveries, the start of this whole thing was, well, pretty unusual. She wasn't some established academic.
Not at all. She famously worked as a waitress back in Bournemouth just to save the money for the boat fare to Africa.
Incredible. And then she meets Louis Leakey in Nairobi.
And Leakey is just crucial here, not just for drumming up that first bit of funding. Remember, the Wilkie Foundation covered the initial 6 months.
Right, from Illinois?
Yeah. But his big contribution, maybe, was who he chose. He specifically wanted someone without a formal scientific background.
He used that phrase, didn't he? Someone uncluttered and unbiased by theory.
Exactly. He thought academic training might actually blind the observer to what was really happening. He wanted fresh eyes. Pure observation.
Which sounds risky, but it obviously paid off. It kind of defined the field, didn't it?
It really did. And we also need to remember the other key people right at the start.
Her mother, Van.
Yes, Van had to go with her in 1960. The authorities, the British government, just wouldn't allow a young Englishwoman to live alone in the bush.
Imagine that conversation. And later, Hugo van Lowick.
Absolutely vital for the incredible photographic record, of course, but also helping set up the Gombe Stream Research Center, giving it that stability it needed long term.
So let's talk about those first months. 1960, it sounds incredibly tough, just getting the chimps to, well, not run away.
Brutal is probably the right word. It took nearly 3 months before they'd even stay in sight. And that was after setbacks before Gombe.
Oh, right. The trouble with the fishermen.
Yeah, which led to that sort of preliminary study she did on vervet monkeys on Lolui Island. It was far from a smooth start.
So how did she finally break through with the chimps? How did she get them habituated?
Patience. Pure, unrelenting patience. She realized chasing them was pointless.
So she just waited.
Pretty much. She found a high vantage point, the peak, and just sat there for weeks, always wearing the same dull, khaki-ish clothes, hardly moving.
The goal being?
To become boring, essentially. To let them see she wasn't a threat, that she was, in her words, not so horrific and terrifying.
That takes serious mental discipline, just sitting day after day.
It does. And it's that persistence that allowed her to gather the data. The book is these amazing little snapshots of life there, too. Moments of real connection and, well, sheer terror.
It's the bush bug story.
Yeah, that's a lovely one. Sitting so still that a bush bug just wanders right up, completely unaware, close enough its nose actually brushed her knee.
Wow. Like something out of a Disney film, almost.
But then balanced by the reality of the danger.
The leopard incident.
Right. Seeing a leopard on the peak, running away, terrified.
Understandably
Completely.
clear.
But then coming back later to find the leopard had left its mark. A pile of dung right where she'd been sitting.
A calling card.
A very clear message. This is my territory. I see you. Imagine going back there the next day.
You wouldn't want to, but she did.
She did. And that dedication, that curiosity, finally led to the observations that changed everything.
Okay, let's get into those. Discovery number 1, meat eating. The established view was chimps were vegetarians.
Strictly vegetarian, yeah. That was the scientific consensus.
So what did she see that blew that apart?
The very first time, it was David Greybeard. He becomes a key figure, and a female chimp eating a baby bush pig, a piglet.
Okay, so they scavenged it, maybe.
Well, she later documented them actively hunting, cooperatively sometimes, taking down colobus monkeys, even young baboons. But the really crucial part wasn't just that they ate meat.
It was how they interacted around the kill.
Exactly, especially the sharing. With that first piglet, David Greybeard actually let the female take pieces, and then, really significantly, he tore off a piece and deliberately put it into her outstretched hand.
That's different. That's not just dominance or snatching food.
No, it suggested something much more complex. Cooperation, maybe reciprocity. It painted a picture of a far more sophisticated social structure around food than anyone had imagined. They weren't just foragers, they were hunters, sometimes social hunters.
Okay, so meat eating. Big shock. But then came the tool-making observation. That seems like the one that really sent shockwaves.
Oh, absolutely. This was the bombshell. Again, it involved David Greybeard.
What was he doing?
He was at a termite mound, and she saw him using a long stem of grass to fish termites out, poking it into the mound, pulling it out covered in termites, and eating them.
Tool use, which was known, I guess. Some animals use tools. Birds, otters.
Right. Tool use wasn't entirely unprecedented in the animal kingdom. But then came the kicker. She saw David and another male named Goliath doing something else.
What was that?
They'd select a leafy twig, and before using it, they would carefully strip off all the leaves.
Okay, why is that the crucial step? Stripping leaves off a twig.
Because it's not just using an object found in nature. It's modifying an object to make it suitable for a specific purpose.
Ah, they're changing it. They have an idea in their head of what the tool should look like.
Precisely. It implies foresight, planning, understanding cause and effect. The leaves get in the way, so I'll remove them. It's the absolute basic, crude beginning of tool making. Technology.
And that was thought to be exclusively human.
Exclusively. Homo faber, man the tool maker. That was a cornerstone of human uniqueness.
So when Leakey heard about this...
His reaction was immediate and famous.
Yeah.
He telegrammed back something like, now we must redefine tool, redefine man, or accept chimpanzees as humans.
Wow. Just like that. A whole definition potentially overturned by a chimp stripping leaves off a twig.
It fundamentally blurred that supposedly clear line between humans and apes. The implications were huge.
And the more she observed, the more complex this chimp society seemed. Let's talk about intelligence and social dynamics. Mike's rise to power is a great example.
Oh, Mike's story is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a perfect illustration of intelligence and maybe even political strategy overcoming brute force.
He wasn't the biggest or strongest male?
No, not at all. Goliath was much more physically imposing. But Mike figured something out. He discovered the power of noise and, crucially, man-made objects.
The kerosene cans.
The empty 4-gallon kerosene cans left around the camp. He started incorporating them into his charging displays.
So instead of just grabbing branches and looking intimidating,
he'd grab one or two of these cans, charge towards the other males, banging them together or dragging them. It created this absolutely terrifying clatter and chaos.
Pure psychological warfare.
Totally.
Yeah.
The other males, even big ones like Goliath, just scattered. He learned to use technology, these cans, to amplify his threat display way beyond his natural capabilities.
And it worked. He became the top male.
He did. He displaced Goliath. It showed this incredible capacity for learning, innovation, and strategic thinking to achieve social dominance, way beyond simple instinct.
Amazing. But it wasn't all just aggression and politics, was it? There were strong bonds, too.
Definitely. David Graybeard and Goliath, despite being rivals later, actually had a very close friendship for a long time.
How did that manifest?
Well, Goodall noted that sometimes Goliath seemed hesitant or nervous facing other rivals, like a male named Hugh. But if David Graybeard was simply nearby, Goliath seemed to gain confidence. David's presence alone was reassuring.
That sounds very human, almost, that kind of loyal support.
It does, and these long-lasting male bonds were quite common. Goodall even speculated that many of these close pairs might actually be brothers.
Does she have any evidence for that beyond just them hanging out together?
It was based on observation, looking for shared uncommon traits. Like, she specifically mentions two males, Leakey and Mr. Wurzel, who both had this unusual lack of pigmentation in their eyes, a rare physical trait.
Ah, I see. So if two males who are inseparable also share a rare physical feature.
It strongly suggests a close genetic link, like being siblings. It adds weight to the idea that these weren't just alliances of convenience, but deep, possibly kin-based bonds.
Fascinating. Okay, let's shift to family life. You can't talk about Gombe without talking about Flo, the matriarch.
Oh, Flo.
Yeah.
Yes. Her family provided this incredible window into, well, the complexities and tolerance within chimp society.
She was known for attracting a lot of male attention, right?
Yes, when she had her sexual swelling, which only made her receptive for about 10 days a month, she'd be followed by this whole group of hopeful males. Intense periods.
Right. And the really interesting observation came from her daughter, Fifi.
Yes, Fifi was just a juvenile at the time. And during these mating attempts, Fifi would constantly interfere.
How so?
She'd literally push and shove these huge, powerful adult males, Goliath, David Graybeard, the top guys, while they were trying to mate with Flo. She'd interrupt them, bat at them.
And the males just let her.
Completely. They showed incredible tolerance. They wouldn't retaliate. They just kind of endure it, maybe try again. It was astonishing.
What does that tell us?
It suggests really strong social rules, probably about protecting youngsters, even when their behavior is seriously annoying or disruptive to the most dominant individuals. It shows a depth to their social contract, you could say.
But as the research went on for years, practical challenges emerged, like needing to see the chimps more reliably.
Exactly. That led to the introduction of the feeding station, giving out bananas to ensure known individuals turned up regularly. They eventually knew dozens of chimps, maybe up to 45 or so.
Which sounds practical, but it created its own problems, didn't it? An arms race, you called it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Once the chimps knew bananas were in the boxes, they became incredibly focused on getting them out.
So the researchers had to keep making the boxes stronger.
Constantly. They started burying them in concrete, using complex locks, wires, levers.
And the chimps.
Chimps like JB, and later Figgin and Everett, just kept figuring them out. They learned to use sticks as levers, they'd probe for weaknesses, they showed real ingenuity and problem-solving skills.
Can you give an example of that ingenuity? Was it just bashing them open?
No, it was often quite sophisticated. Figgin, for example, learned to find a stick, hide it nearby, wait until the researchers had secured the box and left, then retrieve his stick and use it to pry the box open at just the right spot.
That's planning, memory, tool use, strategy.
Absolutely. They were learning and adapting incredibly quickly. Sometimes it felt like they were outsmarting the researchers at every turn.
But this long-term commitment came with real risks and eventually tragedy.
Yes. The work wasn't safe. In 1968, a research assistant, Ruth Davis, tragically died. She fell from a cliff while she was out observing the chimps, studying male individuality. A terrible loss.
And then disease struck the chimps themselves.
A devastating blow. A polio epidemic almost certainly spread from human cases in the nearby town of Kigoma.
How bad was it?
It hit the Gombe population hard. About 15 chimps showed symptoms. 6 of them died. Others were left permanently disabled. Pepe and Foben lost the use of an arm. Gilka, partial use of a hand. Just awful.
And this tragedy, terrible as it was, provided another stark insight, didn't it? Through the story of the orphaned chimp, Merlin.
Yes, Merlin's case was heartbreaking, but scientifically very important. His mother, Marina, died in the epidemic. He was only about 3 years old.
And what happened to him?
He just declined. He became withdrawn, lethargic. Socially, he became very submissive, terrified of the adult male's displays. He also became unusually aggressive towards chimps his own age.
And crucially, his learning seemed affected.
Yes. His tool-using skills, which young chimps normally learn by watching their mothers and others, just stalled. They didn't develop any further after his mother died.
So it wasn't just about losing milk or physical support, it was psychological.
That was the strong implication. The loss of his mother, his social anchor, seemed to cause this profound psychological distress that impacted his behavior, his social standing, and even his cognitive development, his ability to learn complex skills.
It really underscores how vital that secure social bond is, doesn't it? Much like in humans.
Exactly. It mirrored findings about the impact of early trauma and social deprivation on human children. The parallels are becoming undeniable.
So if we try to boil down all these years of observation, all these groundbreaking discoveries, what's the most fundamental behavioral similarity she highlighted? The bedrock connection.
I think it comes down to the need for physical reassurance, comfort through touch.
How so?
In moments of fear, stress, or uncertainty, chimps reach out. They touch, pat, hug, embrace each other, just like humans do. That instinctive seeking of comfort through physical contact, starting with the mother and infant, carries right through into adulthood. It seems to be a deeply shared need.
So, summing up, the Gombe work really cemented the chimpanzee as our closest living relative. Not just genetically, but in terms of brain wiring, social complexity, emotional needs.
Absolutely. And it showed that studying them, even individuals suffering from trauma like Merlin, could teach us so much about ourselves, about the roots of our own behavior, and what happens when those social foundations are damaged.
The idea that we're totally unique, completely set apart, really took a beating.
It did. Chimps showed rudimentary self-awareness. They seemed to grieve. They engaged in complex social maneuvering. The gap narrowed dramatically.
Which leads to that final sort of haunting thought Goodall leaves us with. It's about what might still separate us.
Right. We know chimps, like Washu the signing chimp, can recognize themselves in a mirror. That's a level of self-awareness. But Goodall pushes further.
Into the realm of deeper experience.
Exactly. The capacity for spiritual feeling, for profound aesthetic response, that seems uniquely human. Her question, the one that sticks with you, is essentially this.
What if a chimpanzee wept tears? Not from pain or loss,
But from hearing Bach played on a cathedral organ, that's the frontier she points towards. That deep, complex inner world of meaning and beauty, that's where the ultimate questions still lie.